here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest. This week it's going to be the turn of the singer and performer and songwriter Annabella Lwin, who is, and still is, in Bow Wow Wow. Her version of the band was in it during the early years as well. The band, or again her version of Bow Wow Wow, have got a tour of the UK coming up in the autumn of 2025. This was interview was done sort of mid-September. Just a little bit of a background during the interview, because normally I have a chat for 5 minutes and then we get down to basically the creative process of the artist. But on this occasion it was a little bit different, because we spent 45 minutes talking about anything but music. So when I sort of came to put this together, I've chopped the end bit of the interview and put that at the start, where we talk a bit more about life in the creative and musical world, and then put the bit about everything else at the end. And also there's occasionally there's a radio that she's got playing in the background that sort of comes into the recording, which is a little bit interesting at times. And also there was a little bit of doubt about this particular tour taking place. So yes, do check out the social media platform sites to find out if Annabella Lwin's Bow Wow Wow is going to be coming to the UK very soon. Anyway, after several minutes of interesting but casual chat, we get down to the exciting subject of the early formative years. Annabella, it's over to you.
Well, I was always singing along to records and on the radio, especially. I was one of those home tapers, you know.
Yes.
I used to, because it was all about the song for me. I didn't used to kind of, it didn't really interest me to buy albums. I bought singles. I just listened to singles. I listened to songs on the radio and I would tape them and I'd sing along to them when I'd be walking around the street, because it used to make me feel better about myself and feel a little bit more, you know, I had a skip in my step, as they say. Because I was quite a very shy young girl. You know, I was very, very shy. And
Yes.
my mother was a nurse. She was quite strict. And we used to have to, you know, because I was one of those what you call latchkey kids. You know, I used to wear a key around my neck to go to
Right.
school. And my brother used to walk me to school and back. And then he'd go off, because he was older than me, to do whatever he was doing with his friends. But I really, that was later in my life, because I had it was almost like I had two lives as a youngster, because of all the changes I went through. I mean, my parents, you know, split up when I was very, very, very young. So the fact that I ended up living with my mother, mainly my mother, in London, you know, for that period of my life, was because I was the only daughter. And so I was with her for a long time, growing up in London, trying to find my way, as it were.
Yes.
And then my brothers appeared in my life. But whole other story, another medium. But I
My
just
God,
wanted to say,
that is quite a complex family issue there, isn't it?
well, it was a very complicated childhood, because when parents split up, isn't it? You have to decide. I guess it's sad it's incredibly sad when the parents divorce and split up, because it affects the children, even if they don't think it does. And the children get affected to such a degree that they think it's to do with them, you know, and obviously it's to do with the two people that got married and just don't get along anymore, you know. So I always say to people that I know who are going through, or have been, or about to embark on that change in their lives, which has pretty much happened, because through the pandemic, I think people got to know who they were suitable with and weren't, you know. It kind of worked itself out, didn't it, during the pandemic?
It did,
Going, bloody hell,
yes.
I've been married to you for 20 years. Are you bloody kidding me? You know, excuse my French. But it was really enlightening, I think, for a lot of people too, because they realised the preciousness of life as a human, even more so than. And then for others, I'm sorry, it's unfortunate to say, but it seems they just don't care, you know, and it's sad. And I will continue on my mission and my path to do my music and spread the spiritual messages through my songs.
Yes.
Because obviously I've evolved as an artist. I don't just sing one song that was written by another group. If you take a look at some of the songs we did as Bow Wow, it was, Cherry Red Records have a compilation of all the songs. And I didn't write Sinner, Sinner, by the way. I don't know who put that on there, but I didn't. And the songs I did have a lot of involvement with, for some reason, my name was left off of it. But what you expect from three older guys who obviously wanted all the fame and glory. So the point being, I'm a singer-songwriter, performer, and I always have been. I evolved, I think, from the age of when I wrote the last album with Matthew Ashman, the guitar player in my original band that passed away in 1995. Yes. He died, and it was before that, of course, we were sitting in his living room writing When the Going Gets Tough, the Tough Get Going, which is where I learned the art of songwriting effectively, and have continued it for many years. So it's a never-ending journey, and I love it,
Because I was one of those kids who was very obsessed with John Peel during the 80s, especially, and a bit into the 90s. But I suppose that was my decade. So when you did your John Peel session, have you got many memories? Because you must have been at all of about 14 or 15.
Yeah. No, not really. I do, when I listen to them, I do. It sparks a few memories here and there.
Yes.
But, we were playing so many places for a long, long time. It was almost like, it really was a helter-skelter ride, but it's like Malcolm said, use your imagination, to me. And we were just working all the time and touring, mainly just playing live. If we weren't rehearsing, we were on a stage performing, and getting on a plane. And it was constant movement.
Yes.
And it happened for 3.5 years. And then all of a sudden one day, my guitar player broke his wrist, and I was told we had to take a break, and the rest is history, I guess. And I think it must have been Enemy or Melody Maker. I read that I'd quit the band, which I thought was rather odd, because I was still waiting for the phone call going, yeah, we're going to Australia in a minute to do the tour, So that never happened, obviously.
Yes, well, that is not good, actually. And I guess because having done this show for such a long period of time and done so many interviews, I realise most bands have a bit of a 5-year narrative. They have that, the honeymoon period of about 12 months, and they get a single. John Peel in those days would have possibly picked up on it, played it, gave them a session, then they got the album done, lots of touring in the transit van, and then the sort of second, third album, if they're lucky, and then it's kind of all over. And with a lot of people, it's kind of what happens next. So how did you sort of manage to navigate that? Because you weren't probably even 20 at that stage, and yet it was like it had been and gone, hadn't it?
No, not really. As I say, if you're a singer-songwriter, performer, the journey is never ending.
It is never ending.
It's never ending. You take it where you want to take it, Now, on the other hand, if you've not got the vocation for that, or you think that, let's put it this way. I like to tell people this because it's kind of important. If you're in a band, I think it's important to accept your role in the band, whatever that is, whether you're the bass player, the guitarist, the drummer, the backup dancer, the backup singer, the keyboard player, whatever, trombone player, But when it's when people try to get out of that role and they try to be something else that they're really not cut out for.
Mm-hmm.
And then they want their own rock band or their own whatever band. And that's when things start to happen that creates craziness and mess, because there's a reason you were together and were successful. Obviously, you had a good combination of people. So I think it's about egos, unfortunately. It tends to be egos. A lot of the time, it's egos within a band, If they can't keep that in check, then it's failed to do, it's doomed to fail, because it's basically, I like to say to the musicians I've been working with for many years now, I work with 2 guitarists, by the way, 2 drummers and 2 bass players, so that, everyone's schedule is not conflicting. And they like to go off and work with other people too. And I there's no reason why they shouldn't. They're talented musicians, Now, my mainstay, of course, is what I've done as an artist through the years that have preceded me. So it's really about evolving and seeing what else I can do through my own involvement as an artist. Otherwise, why the hell am I still doing this?
Well, quite,
There's
yes.
no, I'm not that girl, trying to be famous. I really couldn't care less about that. I'm really more concerned about what I'm here to help change through my being an artist, if that makes sense. I really do believe in that wholeheartedly. Through my own life experiences, I have come to realize that the platform that we have is super important in order to make positive changes. And hopefully we can do that. Each one of us can do our bit to do that.
Yes.
But as for the rest of it, no, I'm not a model. I'm sorry. I don't look like Twiggy, but I was not a model. I was
No.
a singer. And then I became, well, actually, I was, I guess, some young girl that used to scream and shout and then found her voice. I think it's just answering your question in a roundabout way. I found my voice through what I was actually doing at the time and evolved through that experience. As you do in life, it's through life experience that you become who you are today, correct?
Yes,
You
well,
become,
absolutely.
yeah, it's through your own life experiences that you become who you are. And obviously, whatever we do in our lives, it's important to find the jigsaw puzzle and pieces that fit together to make sense of what we're doing with our life, not what someone else is doing. I don't want to copy someone else. I don't want to look like someone else. I don't care if you don't think I look like Slim, like, Taylor Swift, people like that. I'm sorry. She doesn't really impress me, actually. But the point being, I really love the fact that some of these people who do have a lot of money because they've been supported by record labels for years and they're making more and more money, Beyonce, people like that.
Yes.
If I hear about them actually helping others through their own success, I think that's a wonderful thing. I always think
Yes.
that's something to be applauded. It's those that really don't seem to care, that I find really hard to understand.
Tricky.
And they're so busy trying to get their stage outfits together and what they look like and having their next hair appointment and doing their nails. Hello. Some of us
Yes.
have other things that we have to do to make a difference for others. So I'm hoping that one of these days I'll be able to work with the like-minded people in order to do some of the things I wish to do to help specifically the animals.
So yeah,
Because
no, absolutely. But
that's
when did
this is why I'm doing what I'm
so
doing.
was it when you were in LA then that you kind of started to kind of establish who you, which was I think from vaguely what you said was about 20 years ago you've been in LA.
Well, I did a video called I Want Candy when I was 15 on the beach of Santa Monica. And it was
Right.
the irony of going back there to do a song on the beach for a charity who were vegan based. And I was a
Yes.
vegetarian at the time. I was vegetarian by then. But yes, in answer to your question, it all happened in Los Angeles, that whole awakening, if you'd like to call it that. It was the most incredible epiphanies, because I had some epiphanies before I joined the band, just when I joined the band, and other things. Again, that's to be in another medium. But I am looking
Yes.
forward to sharing what I hope people will be open-minded to listen to sing about stuff that really matters, in the world.
Yes, absolutely. So did you suddenly, when you were on Santa Monica doing your video, you had an epiphany? Did something click that made you sort of feel, right, there's been a change, a sort of
A
conscious
shift. There
change,
was a
a
shift,
shift?
yeah, definite shift on both occasions. When I was doing the video, when I was a teenager, and then when I revisited years later to do this, a concert to help raise money for the vegan charity, because they have an animal sanctuary as well, which they allow the general public to go visit the animals. To get to know cows and pigs and
And was
just
it
the
was
animals.
it the idea of having a mission then, rather than just being somebody on stage singing some
I've always had a
songs?
mission. I've had a vision from the get-go. I think when I came out of my mother's belly, but I didn't know it at the time. It takes us many years because when we're born, they say, we have seen our life and we've chosen to live that life in that time, in that
Yes.
existence. Now, I don't know if you believe in the afterlife. I believe in it 150%. Basically the soul in the body of, and then when the body dies, the soul travels, as you do when you go to sleep, but you don't realize it, which is why you go off when you're asleep, your body, your soul consciousness goes out back into to source because you're needing to replenish and also get messages of what your life is going to continue like. And if you're on the right path, I chant about it every day. I'm a practicing Buddhist, I
Yes.
chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So, and that is something I actually started doing in Shepherd's Bush, actually in London. But I love chanting and praying, and I pray and I say prayers for other people too, because it's really important to remember that's what we're here to do, is just love one
Yes.
another and support each other. We're not here to cause pain and kill people and bring harm,
Oh yes, absolutely. Because a few years ago, I did an interview with Laura Logic, who was in X-Ray Specs, and she also, I think that was the Buddhism and the Hare Krishnas as well. And I think that's
Oh, yes.
where polystyrene was as well in her life.
Yes.
She'd joined, I think, the Krishnas. So when did you discover, or when did you find yourself sort of being part, or sort of becoming sort of drawn to the Buddhist practice?
I was born a Buddhist.
You're
I was
born a
born a
Buddhist.
Buddhist. Yes, I was born in the Far East. So naturally, my mother was Christian actually, but she converted to Buddhism. But I was born a Buddhist, and it wasn't until I was in Shepherd's Bush one day, and this was after I was out of the band, obviously, years later. I went into a pub. I used to go to pubs, and I met an Irish lady in there, and I think she must have overheard me talking about it, I guess. But she said, "Oh, I'm a Buddhist." And I went, how can you? I was so ignorant. I was an ignoramus. I really was. I went, how can you be a Buddhist? You're Irish. Aren't you Catholics?
Yes.
So I wasn't snotty or snooty. I was just ignorant. And she said, well, oh, I don't know if I should take that as an insult or not. She was such a sweet lady. And she said, come to a meeting. We chant. And I said, you do? She goes, oh, yes. And then that was the start of my practice of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And I've never looked back since. And it was a key that turned, and it opened up so many things for me in my life. And I won't go into all the details, but it taught me a lot about what I had lost sight of. And it just made me realize I came back to being who I was meant to be. Does that make sense? It's like
Yes.
some people get lost in drugs, I think, or alcohol, or whatever it is that makes them feel better about themselves. But really, it's about finding your natural path. And that's what I like to try to keep things natural and real. Because what's the point? You're wasting so much time. It's a bit like when people go out with each other for the first time, they're always really, really nice to each other. And then after a few years or a year goes by, things start to go a little crumbly, because they start bringing their real true self to the table. And really, if they would save so much time and energy if they just did that from the get-go. Just be yourself. You don't have to be anybody else, because you're very unique. You're a unique being. You're here for a reason. And there is a lot more that you can help to do through your being and
Yes.
existence.
Well,
Does
I
that
think
make
it
sense?
was Oscar Wilde who said, "Be yourself, because everybody else is taken."
Oh, that's a really good quote. I did not know that. I did
So,
not. I just
dear
knew
old
the one
Oscar
about,
Wilde, there you go.
yeah.
Be yourself,
Oh,
yes.
bless,
So,
bless.
yes, it's
Yeah.
simple. And did you then, with that, start to sort of, I don't know, not empower yourself, but did you then sort of feel like, right, I'm going to take a little bit more charge, or I'm going to be a bit more sort of not assertive, but able to get on the path that you're on now through that kind of
Well, it's
practice?
part of your evolvement, isn't it? It's called evolving. You have to evolve as a being, which is again why I always feel incredibly sad when I think about a newborn cow just taken away from her mother in a wheelbarrow and kicked, because she's about to be, and her teeth pulled out and stuff. Because it's horrible to think that anyone would take anyone's freedom away. And unfortunately, I didn't have many choices when I was younger. Obviously, I didn't have the choice that my parents split up. I didn't have a choice where I was going to live. I didn't have a choice of anything, pretty much. And then I got into a band that I had no choice with
Yeah.
anything, because I was told what to do. And, I was told, by, mainly the manager at the time, here's a song and, and just read through it. And how would you do it, And I did it the way I would naturally have done it, I guess. But he also guided me like a director, like a musical director, Malcolm McLaren. And then
Yes.
later on, it was the guitarist and I, and there was evolvement throughout the period. So I don't think if I'd been at school, for example, if I'd not left school when I was 14, if I'd not left home when I was 14 and a half, going on 15, well, it was actually before the album cover came out. I definitely wasn't living at home then. But I have to be honest, if I had not done any of that stuff, well, it's hard to think about that really, because I did. And,
Yes.
I guess I wasn't supposed to be like the other girls in my class, if that's makes any sense. I
Well,
wasn't.
no.
I always
Yes.
thought there was something different. I always felt very different from a lot of people that I came across as well. I
Well,
didn't feel the same as everybody else.
but
I didn't
it
look the same, I
well,
didn't sound the
as
same.
we now get sort of older, when you see a 14, 15-year-old, and remembering that we probably at that time thought we knew most things, but then when you meet a
Yeah.
14, 15-year-old, they do seem very young, don't they? And you think, wow,
Yes.
that was you. But
Yeah.
unlike me, who was just kind of kicking a football about and being a bit, because you mentioned prog rock. Well, I had an older brother who was 7 years older. He was into that prog rock world of Yes, Genesis, Wishbone Ash, Pink Floyd, all those
Mm.
kind of, that amazing vocalist on, is it the album Wish You Were Here, where she does her incredible vocal range?
Yes.
And that is just
Yes.
absolutely stunning.
Classic. Yeah.
But I wasn't sort of thrust into that world of being in a band and being in a kind of industry. I had a part-time job which was based in the countryside, but it was definitely not sort of anything that would
Well,
suddenly
I had a
became.
part-time job. I used to work every Saturday before Malcolm got me fired. But yeah, I used to do that, and I used to enjoy it actually, because I was learning stuff there, earning my
Yes.
pocket money. Yeah.
Well, absolutely, and but that in itself is such a strange kind of. It's almost, if somebody had written that story in a Hollywood play, you'd have sort of, or film script, you'd have thrown it out as like, that's just not going to happen, because you were sort of spotted in a laundrette singing, weren't you?
No, it was a dry cleaners.
Damn, so close.
Everyone keeps saying this. It's a laundrette. No, it was a dry
The
cleaners.
dry cleaners,
But
I
to
know,
cut
and
to
that
cut a long story to cut a long story short, I didn't choose to do this as a career. I didn't choose to do this to be, to be famous. I just love singing. I've always loved singing. It was never something that, I was always singing at home. My mother came home from work. When she came home from work, heard me singing along to the radio. You know, it happened to be Gloria Gaynor's "I Will Survive,"
splendid.
uh,
We love
which was
that.
something.
Me,
Yeah, she
myself,
was
I.
me, myself, and I, and that was Joan Armour Trading. And then my mother's taste was like Demis Roussos and
Oh
Maria
God, that's
Maria Callas, and Pavarotti, and she had quite an eclectic taste too. But I've always loved singing, and so because I always loved it, I guess I just wanted to keep doing it, and it fulfilled something within me that made me feel better about myself.
yes.
And because I was the only girl and the youngest child, it wasn't like I had a lot of freedom. Do you see what I mean?
No.
So anyway, the point being, I'm really grateful to have gone through all the experiences I have in my life, because I hope I'm the best of my mother and my father in this day and age, which is all you can ever hope for.
Well, this is true, actually. Did you feel were you in a conscious state at some point later on where you felt like you needed I mean, it's a bit of a corny term, but did you feel like you needed to sort of have some either healing or some sort of a process to deal with that, that younger person that was yourself? Did you have to do much work on that to come to terms with what had happened, or were you able to move on quite
I
smoothly?
don't think we ever stop being young, do we? I think we're always that we are always young at heart. You know, I think that's the thing. We I don't know what they mean by that, but I do know that having done all these different things in my particular life experience, it's really helped me to understand better when I meet other people who come up to me and talk to me about their lives, as you've just done today on this interview, which we're going to have to wrap up soon, by the way.
Well, yes, absolutely.
But I just wanted to say that I'm really happy that you're a vegetarian, because you can definitely talk about all these things that I've just mentioned as
Well,
well
yes,
with
I
others,
know. What
and bring some what they call awareness to what's going on in the world. But each of us have our life path that we supposedly choose to live, and even in the families that we choose to be born. I don't know if that's 150% true, but I do know that 150% that we are a soul in the body of a human, and we could be a soul in the body of a cat, pig, dog, cow, geese, whatever you'd like to name as an animal. Friend, I happen to love elephants. Elephants are my spirit animal. I love our
excellent.
elephants
Oh, nice.
greatly, and it's so sad what they have to be put through, as well as baboons and orangutans. They're taken away from their mothers from these poachers in the forest so they can make money for them. And elephants are basically whipped, beaten, and drugged and tortured to. I mean, these are huge, huge animals that they're asking them to stand on their heads. I mean, it's ridiculous, just so that humans can go like this. I'm sorry, I just find that abominable. They need to abolish all zoos and have what you described, these wild lands, of letting these uh, letting these souls have freedom, because they deserve freedom just like we do.
Well,
We're just a
absolutely.
soul in the body, and we need to remember that, because when you die, your body's left there, your soul travels. And God forbid if you're responsible for any of the torture and suffering in the world. It's all I can say.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
absolutely. Karma. Did you
Yeah.
have you doing kind of at the moment? Are you sort of writing or recording new material or working on new projects going forward here?
I've been working on new projects for many years, but people haven't heard them as yet.
Yes.
I'm currently at this week, for example, I have a convention I'm going to be attending to do just the same thing I've just mentioned here. I'll be doing some talking to some people. I'll be doing meet and greets, and maybe being on a panel too to answer some questions. But I'm going to be hopefully meeting some fans who have some burning questions for me, and I'm also doing a show the week after. I'm preparing for that, rehearsing, because those are real time things that we need to also do in between everything else that we're
Yes.
doing. And of course, I'm preparing for the dates that we have
We
there
have
to
in the
do.
UK, which is
I
always
hope
exciting.
I hope so, because these shows are not going to be like anything else that I've ever done. I am doing, obviously, the songs that they're all familiar with, but I'm hoping they'll come open-minded, but more importantly, open-hearted to hearing some new stuff, and that's it.
Blimey. So look, this weekend, this is very interesting. So this is in LA, isn't it? HorrorCon.
LA, Los Angeles. Yes, that's right.
So
That's my website.
what is horror? Is this your
Well, it's a
website?
big event, and they have celebrities that go there, and they meet people. And they have people from mainly horror movies, but they're also doing a section for music people, and I'm one of those people. So I was
Right.
invited. It's my first time doing it, so I don't know too much about it, but I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Because you've got
Yeah.
Candy Clark, who was in the David Bowie film, The Man Who Fell to Earth, who,
Ah,
who I interviewed a few years ago. So it's going
Good
to
to
be quite
know.
something.
I shall have to say hello to
I
him
do
from
do
you
say
if I
hello,
meet.
and
Yes.
you'll be there for 2 days, appearing
Yeah.
alive. Will you be just doing Q&A, or are you doing
Yeah.
a live set,
I'm one of a few.
or one of a
Cherie
few?
Curry from the Runaways is also going to be doing, I think, a Q&A. But I'm just there to meet and greet. That's kind of the opportunity because people are always saying, "When can I get an autograph?" or "When
Oh,
can I see you?"
yes, we need
So
it.
it's part and parcel of what we do, but it's also something I've never done because I've never been to that particular
No.
place to do this.
And then the
It's new.
following week, before you come to the UK for your tour in the winter, autumn, 2025, you're also doing one of these kind of, yes, it's almost like a mini festival, isn't it? On
Yes,
the 27th.
that's
Um,
right.
so
Yes.
will you be doing, is this with a band? Do you go out with a
I have
band?
my own musicians and I have my own band. That's right. I've had them for many
And with
years.
your set
Yeah.
list, which I'm curious about,
Yeah.
how do you sort of organize and how do you arrange your set list?
Well, it depends on. I take into consideration all the factors of the the venue, the crowd, what kind of concert it is. Like you just mentioned, is this one on the is a festival, so it's
Yes.
an open air. It's on stage, open air. Um, and I take into consideration all the different things, and then I put together my set list based on what I think people would enjoy hearing. And
Yes.
thankfully, because Cherry Red Records released the box set, there are songs out there that now I can do that they are familiar with after buying that box set. A song called Ricky D I wrote that I hadn't done for many, many years, but every time we do it, people seem to really enjoy it. A song called Mario, a song called Roustabout. So it's nice to be able to do the songs, and there's one I like to do paying homage to Matthew Ashman, our late guitar player, because he wrote the song. It's called Man Mountain. So
Right.
I'm basically maintaining what I've always done. I just have obviously different musicians that I work with, mainly the same group, but it's just at different times. So
Yes.
I auditioned and handpicked everyone that are on stage with me to work with me to bring to life what I always did as a teenager. And so
Yes.
far, we've had no complaints.
I'm not surprised, actually. Was Matthew your kind of soulmate in the band, would you say?
He was my right hand man regarding the band, but I didn't know that at the time because we didn't get along. We didn't get along because I was a teenager. Obviously, they were all older than me. So it's
Yes.
not like we were friends, and I was never friends with any of them. Obviously, I was just working, and I saw it as work. I saw it as a job. I thought it was a job. Of course, that's not the case, after 45 years. But, in between the 45-year period, there've been other things that one had to do in order to do what they're doing, if you see what I'm saying.
Yes. I do.
But yeah, I'm going to be wrapping this up anytime soon. So
Well, I don't
it's
blame you,
1:20.
actually.
It's an hour
So
and a half we've been doing this now, pretty much,
we
almost.
have,
Yeah.
we have,
So any
there's been a lot.
questions?
Any,
Further
so
questions?
what's your go-to favorite, say, favorite film? What would
Oh
if
God,
you,
that's so difficult. I'm a big film buff, so there's so many that
so
I
what
like.
what sort of, if you were thinking three, well, say your top 2 or 3 films that you would still think, I'd still like to watch that one day, rather than thinking, I used to like it then, but it probably is a bit rubbish now. Is there anything that you're particularly still fond of?
Um, well, I like all sorts of films. I have films to me are like music. Although music is a little bit closer to home because obviously I write it and I sing it and I perform it, but films kind of are a form of escapism, I find, don't
Yes,
you? You watch a
absolutely.
movie and you get completely wrapped up in the movie.
Yes. So
Um,
what would you sort of go your 3 films that you think, okay, I'll just go for these 3.
well, I'd recommend Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, which is one of my favourite movies as a child. Bed
Splendid.
Knobs and Broomsticks with Julie Andrews. I used to love that Sound of Music, obviously, with Julie Andrews, because she was singing a lot in that, you know. So, you know, me, I call myself, you know, it's just, she was singing musical. And other movies, well, there's so many movies that I personally like, but I would check out, there was a film called Bed of Roses, which I thought was kind of a sad movie, but it was a really good film with Christian Slater.
Oh.
And of course, you know, the more horror type movies in my world were things like Alien, the actual
Right.
original with Ripley. That was kind of scary. And Halloween, the actual movie Halloween with Donald Pleasance, and
Right.
the original, you know, she's actually done
Yes.
remakes of that over here. Because she's the daughter of Vivian Lee, isn't she? Not Vivian Lee. There's the actress in Halloween, the original, and she also played them. Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee,
Well,
yes,
she's the
that's right.
daughter of Tony Curtis, and
Tony, yes, who was in
yeah,
Some Like It Hot with Marilyn Monroe.
that's right. Because it's
Yes.
a lot of kids, obviously, when they're born into those families, they tend to go into the same business. It seems, and
Yes.
they all mingle with each other and stuff, which is interesting. But and they probably do the same thing in the UK. I don't know, but I know that I like to keep my feet firmly on the ground and feel the earth beneath my feet and the sand beneath my toes when I go to the beach to take a walk along the beach, which I love to do.
Yes.
Venice Beach, funnily enough, which is where it all started for me, effectively. But many films. I mean, there's Education. I mean, I think that wonderful movie that was done by he's a visionary director, Cameron, the director.
Yes. Right.
He's Ivory, and I can't remember the name of that. It was an old
Oh, yes.
period movie, and Elephants and Ivory, what was it called? Or anyway, it was a very old period movie, and then he did Avatar.
Yes.
So
I'm
he's really good.
James
I would love
Cameron,
to
wasn't
work with
it?
someone like that. Yeah,
Yes.
he's an incredible visionary. So hopefully, you know, we'll see more films like that. But that talks about the earth, and that talks about spiritual stuff. If you watch Avatar, you know, where they connect their hair
Y-
endings to the trees in this
Yes,
spiritual
that's
tree place.
right.
Yeah, and they're burning everything down, aren't they? All the humans, they're going there to destroy the
Yes.
land, and it's so awful. It's just horrible. But I'm hoping one day there'll be this awakening to people realizing that we are responsible for what's going on, and that we need to take full account for all the things that have happened and learn the lessons of our ancestors effectively. We really need to wake up and smell the coffee is all I'm going to say on that note.
Yes, well,
But
absolutely.
yeah, I hope that we can align at a later date.
Well,
And
absolutely.
will we be seeing you at one of the shows? I
Well,
hope.
if yes, well, it would be amazing. Hopefully Norwich is going
Well,
to
let
still
us
be.
know.
I
Let
will.
us
I will
know.
let you. I'll let.
Yes.
But yes, theoretically, the 26th of October, Norwich. Who knows? But
Yeah.
will you find out in the next couple of
Well,
days,
please
weeks?
don't announce it to anybody
God, I
just yet,
won't.
because
No,
we
no,
have to do it officially and it has to be done correctly. But
I won't.
what's happened is some of the venues are more keen to have discotheques on than live bands, apparently. So
Right.
having live music is also a challenge, it seems, in the UK. I don't know why. I mean, they love it over here, so, and everywhere else, it seems. Oh, maybe in Europe they like their discotheque music. I don't know. But I am aware of the fact that some of the venues prefer to keep it more. They think they're going to sell more tickets, having a disco or whatever, or the bar
Yeah.
tab or whatever it is, you know. So good luck with that is all I can tell you. You're going to miss
Yeah.
out on a piece of history
Well,
that
yes,
you may
absolutely.
never see again, you know.
So theoretically, though, is like the Norwich date still on, or do you not know that?
I can't comment on anything as we speak. All I know is as of just recently, I've been informed that there's been changes, and the agent is going to update me, hopefully in the next 24, 48 hours, so that announcements can be made. Because
Phew.
it's just a matter of shifting things around. They're probably going to be the same dates. It's just that they've cut out a few. Does that make sense?
I got you. God, I hope you
And that's
haven't
all
cut
that's
out
happened.
Norwich. Yes.
Well, it remains to be seen, but it will help me make.
And with that, and do you bring the band that you've got in LA over, or do you have
Yeah,
to?
of course.
Oh, right,
I work with my group of musicians. We rehearse here. We have to
yes.
rehearse the songs and the set. It's a 60-minute set, so we have to rehearse. There's a lot of work to
Well,
do.
absolutely. 60
Yeah,
minutes of sheer
yeah,
fun. Well, this
absolutely.
is
Especially with a bunch of new songs that they have never done before, which will be even more interesting for me. Keeps them on their toes, anyway.
yes. Well, I guess you'll
Yeah,
have to start. You'll be in rehearsals soon, I guess, won't you?
absolutely. We're
Well,
actually starting already, so it's all slow at the beginning, but it's really nice once they're familiar with everything. I mean, as I say, I've been working with these musicians for years, so but I work with 2 guitarists, 2 bass players, 2 drummers because of scheduling
yes,
conflicts sometimes, which is why sometimes shows get cancelled too with other artists. If you notice, other bands that play with other bigger bands or around the same time, they have different scheduling. So their agents wouldn't want them to play the same place or in the same city. That's how it works, and it's how they do business. But it's nice when people do want to come and see you that haven't seen you for 9 years. I think it was 2016 my last time doing a thing over there, but we'll see. I mean, I can't answer, for the public. All I know is that I was really looking forward to doing. Hello, are you
yes.
still there?
I'm
Yeah,
still here.
sorry. I'm really looking forward to doing this, and we've got a wonderful young band supporting us, Millie Manders and the Shut Up. So it will be exciting to see whoever wants to see us there.
But when are you in Norwich?
Well, there's been a few changes, which I'm waiting to hear the updates on. So I don't know yet is the answer to that question. It's a bit strange. I'm waiting to hear back from the agent based in the UK that approached me about doing these dates.
Because you've got
Yeah,
it's a very solid block of dates, haven't you? October
we
and
did. That's all I have to say. We did. But it's like anything, really. I guess if there's a different kind of period of other kinds of artists, then the youngsters will want to go see them. So I don't know really what's going on. I'm sort of I'm going to skip over this because all I know is that the dates have been shortened, and I'm aware that there's some changes going on in the background. So I'm going to announce that shortly, based on
yes.
the information I've been given. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll still be able to do what I hoped we would do on the 45th anniversary and my 60th birthday year. But life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. Is Alan Saunders, I think his name, not Alan Saunders, someone called Alan, something Alan. I always thought it was John Lennon that had that saying, but it was actually a key term from another great writer. But
Oh,
anyway, I hope so. Yeah, yeah. Don't go through all those dates as you see it advertised on my website,
no.
because it's now going to be changing. That's all I can tell you. It's going to be the same month, I'm hoping, because otherwise I'm not going to come over there. But I do hope that the people who are still wanting to see us can still see us. And as far as the other, because venues apparently have changed a lot since we played back in the day. Apparently they like nightclubs there. Is that right?
I guess so. I mean, it's
Yeah. They have a band and then they want to get the band out as quickly as possible and put the disco on.
Oh, really? Yes,
That's what
because
I heard. Yeah. Is that right?
I don't know. I mean, I don't go
Oh,
to. I've never been a nightclubby person. I just go to the
yeah.
occasional
Well,
gig. But
that's my world. I mean, I'm a late night because we have to be. We travel and all sorts of things in the early hours sometimes and all the rest of it. But the point being, that will be announced shortly, and I'm just waiting on the confirms because I was hoping to come there to celebrate everything that had happened with our band all those years ago, and as I've been maintaining over here in the States for 20 odd years now. But it's been really difficult because unless you're on the radio a lot or unless you're on TV a lot, people seem to kind of, because everything's about the internet now, isn't it? Everything's about
yes,
fast, what's the word? not scintillation, stimulation.
Yes.
And the youngsters are so used to, because obviously it's the two generations, Gen Zs, Gen Xs, they've all grown up on the internet, what I'm gathering from my nephew and nieces. And so if it's like boring in the first few seconds, they skip over it. That's apparently their attention span is not as long as we used to have our attention span.
Yes,
And
well,
their education is obviously not all about the things that seem to matter most in the world,
yes,
which is why I think people like myself and others who are in the same vein need to keep on that path. It's
yes,
very important to maintain that we're living on a planet we share together, and it's not about living the life fast and using up the planet's resources and killing off every animal there is alive, but it's about respecting mother nature and earth, and obviously hopefully we are as a species going to survive, because without those things we won't.
no, this is
We're
true.
going to, yeah, and these kids don't seem to realize that. So I'm really hoping that the younger generation of today don't just have this live for now motto, because it's not the way that we're supposed to survive. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
God,
important that we,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm
Yes.
sure you have some stories
Well, I have
in
so
your
many
life.
stories.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
well, I suppose in that 80s period, that's when I became a vegetarian and one would call left of centre and had all those kind of political or idealistic ideas
Excellent. I'm a
about how.
vegan, so well
So
done. High five to you.
I
Well
know,
done,
and
because we need to be. There needs to be more of us, because it's
yes,
shocking and horrifying what's going on in these so-called, dairy farms, which is. I have never seen anything so horrific, and I've never heard such horrific noises, and I really, really, my heart just breaks every time I hear about animals being abused in any way, shape, or form, and that can even stem from because I have a thing called Cameo, and I do all my requests. I always have a charity every month, mainly
right,
animal related. So I always put my, a portion of my proceeds towards, the charity of the month, like the Soy Dog Foundation, SOI Dog Foundation. It's horrific and horrendous what's going on there. But these people have had the courage, and they're not, rich people. They're people without monies, but they are trying to save lives, and that's really what it's all about now.
yes,
Animals that are pets, and I'm talking dogs and cats. And obviously, if you're a vegetarian, then you've got some conscience as to what's going on in the world, and some understanding of the fact that all the stuff that's going on is contributory to the way humankind has treated the planet and the animals in general, I think.
yes.
So anyway, I won't go on about that. But
No, no, but
Paul
it's
McCartney said it best. Just go and see this documentary called Behind Glass Doors, because it's absolutely shocking and horrifying. And I don't want to be a participant of that suffering and torture and pain. I want to
yes.
be the human that helps to save them in one way or another, and I intend to do that as long as I'm alive.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, no, it's a good thing to. Yes, I know it's the one thing that kind of breaks my heart more than anything is cruelty to animals, really,
Yes,
because with
because they can't. They're so innocent. They're like
they,
babies. They're all like
yes,
babies.
they
Have you
are,
got
and
animals? Have you got cats and
yes, we've
dogs?
always been cat
Excellent.
people, so it's always
Well
been
done.
good.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I embrace because we've got a little bit of a garden, but I kind of embrace all the slugs and snails and hedgehogs, and we've got,
Well,
muntjacs and all that because I just think,
excellent.
it's obscene to have a garden and then go around putting poison everywhere to
Thank you.
put to
Yeah.
protect the plant. Then you think, well,
Thank
actually,
you.
that's
Yeah.
so I
You're
feel bad.
conscious. Well done. Thank you. Lovely to meet you again, David. I'm
Yes,
really happy to hear that, because people don't understand, especially the bee population at the moment. There's a lot of them, dying. And of course, they help to, pollinate plants and flowers, and the birds, where these kids keep shooting their legs off and thinking it's funny. I mean, it's absolutely horrendous that they've got no respect for life, because it's the soul and the body of, I'm a
yes.
Buddhist, so I believe in this very strongly. And I've also had some experiences in my life, as well as others I'm aware of, to absolutely 100% state that we are just a soul in the body of a human and a soul in the body of a cat or a dog or whatever you're born as, a living, breathing, sentient, feeling, thinking, being. And it's just incredibly sad that humans think they're more superior because they have 2 arms and 2 legs, basically.
Yes.
And some of them have penises, of course, because men have penises, and unfortunately some of them do some horrific things to these
Yes.
poor souls,
I
which I'm
know.
also completely disgusted by, is all I can tell you, because some of them are ex-convicts apparently that work in these places. So when they molest animals, I mean, what kind of mentality does that? I'm
Yes.
just in shock. I learned all this too late in my life. I mean, I wish I'd known about this when I was in my teens, when I was busy scoffing McDonald's hamburgers and Burger King stuff, and not realizing they were entrails and, teeth bones that had been ground down. And no wonder I had terrible stomach aches after eating them late at night. But the horrendous thing too is the fact that there's really no need for it. We've got so many food options, haven't we, in this day and age? And
Yes. Well,
milk
absolutely.
options.
And
Yeah,
I would
it's
imagine you've also entered that world of kind of looking after your gut bio and sort of consuming things like, I don't know, we have kefir and then there's sauerkraut and there's kombucha and all those sort of things, because actually there's been a lot of kind of talk recently about kind of improving your gut, bio,
well, yeah.
basically.
Your gut is the second brain. They've done research on this. We have one brain up here, and we have one brain in the stomach. And it's really all propaganda, because the more ill people are, the more that they're going to have to go to their doctors and get medication prescriptions, which the government collects part of the money for from the people who are trying to sell them to the doctors and then try to sell them to the patients. So as long as they keep on, supplying them with really bad food to put in their second gut, brain,
Yes.
body, the cell structure, because it's all about cell structures. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of people who eat red meat, I've noticed, and a friend of mine did a research because she was doing macrobiotic, which meant she did eat chicken, but she only ate fresh cooked chicken and vegetables. All of her diet really was about vegetables and chicken. But she told me a very interesting, fascinating fact, which I will share with you. It's to do with, how what we ingest in our cell structure and psyche goes into our own cell structure because it's broken down, and the enzymes, etc. And then we actually consume that, and then we are taking on whatever the cell structure is of whatever we're eating. So the pain, suffer, and torturing that goes on becomes anger. And that's why there's a lot of angry people, I think. I mean, it's the only logical explanation, that I can see. I've noticed there's a
Yes.
lot of angry people because they eat too much red meat. That was what her theory was, and I actually have seen so much evidence of this myself that I think it's true. So it's best to stay away from things that are basically torturous and suffering that you're putting in your own body, and then you're becoming an angry person because you're feeling that through your own cell structure. It's a research thing. I can't go into too much depth, but if you look it
Yes.
up online, I always say to people, educate yourself, especially the younger ones, because in the next few years, when the planet really does deteriorate, and it's going to be very difficult for us to live on this planet, and that's why they're busy looking for other planets to, live on right now. And they've got all these space things going on, haven't they?
Yes.
And that's why Richard Branson, who was one of the most visionary, incredible, like Malcolm was, a visionary man. And obviously now it's over here, it's Elon Musk. He's got his own shuttle to another planet, but it's going to cost people millions. So you have to be a billionaire or a millionaire to be able to afford to get on one of these things. But the point being, if there are no more animals, birds, bees, or anything, we have nothing on this
Y-
planet
Yes.
left. It will
I know.
die, and
It
we
will
won't be
do.
able to live as a human species. So if people are prepared for that, which I don't think they actually understand the concept of. What don't you understand about we're supposed to live in harmony with animals? We're supposed to live in harmony as people. We're not here
Yes.
to kill each other and torture my boyfriend's cat or dog because I'm in a bad mood, and give them a kick in the face or drill their face, with a drill or a hammer, which I've seen. Shockingly bad behavior from humans. And it's all because they're not educated, they're not conscious like you are. And they really need to wake up and smell the coffee, I always say. And it's very, very hard for me to talk about this without getting emotional, as you can probably hear. But I just wanted to tell you that as part of my mission, continuing in the music industry, I am trying to espouse to, because there's a Buddhist saying, everything you say and do must be in harmony. Otherwise, you're kind of being a bit of a hypocrite. You're saying you love animals 1 minute and then you're killing them or kicking them or whatever. It doesn't make sense. Or you're eating them. You know what I mean? So,
yes, absolutely.
I don't eat animals. I'm a vegan, and I wish I had been a vegan earlier. I was a vegetarian for many, many years before I became a vegan. But it took one event on Santa Monica Beach. I was asked to do a charity performance, and it was just an easy, after all seeing all the information and educating myself further with it, it was an easy choice because I was so ignorant. I used to think, oh, to be a vegan, you have to, have raw this and raw that. It's nothing to do with that at all. It's to do with eating plants. And then there's this whole other fraction of people go, well, plants have feelings too. Well, plants don't have flesh and bones and blood.
No.
The fact is, we are, as a species, killing Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is not happy with us. That's what I've come to the conclusion of. She's definitely not happy with humans.
It's not
That's
good,
why
is
you're
it?
going to see more and more of this. And it's affecting also, they don't realize the other side of the coin with these horrible, horrible places that they have what they call killing floors and all the rest of it, where they chuck pigs into, gas chambers. It's basically like Auschwitz for pigs. It's horrible. Where these places exist, but behind barbed wires, and as he said in his documentary Behind Glass Doors, Paul McCartney, they actually try to restrict anyone from seeing what's going on because it's so incredibly horrific. That these are live beings, and they are literally torturing or molesting them, and then they just slit their throats. They're still alive, and then they hang them upside down to bleed to death, or just chuck them in a big pile, and then they don't know what to do with them, so they stick them in a big ditch, because they've got too many bodies. I mean, it's just horrific. It's just horrific, and it's all because someone wants a bit of bacon on their plate next to some mashed potato. I don't personally get that. But when I was downing beef burgers as a child, it was because I was told that's all there was to eat. But I missed my point regarding the places. I'll go back to the eating burgers when I was a teenager because that's all I was told that there was to eat. And I come from a farmer's because half of my family from Devon and Dartmoor were all farmers. So, I used to go into my great-great-grandmother's farm, but she had pigs and they had ducks and chickens and geese and all of that and horses, and they would treat them, let them have freedom and go out into the pasture and obviously have milk from the cow, but they would milk them like normal, like they do normally with old-fashioned way. Now they just stick them on a machine. I mean, they obviously rape the mother cow artificially, inseminate her, and then she gets these big udders, and then they just milk her until she drops dead, and then they chuck her carcass out for slaughter, and she's like on a machine 24/7 standing up. So that's why you see pictures of cows falling over, because they can't stand anymore. They've been used and abused over and over and over again. And if you can imagine a human going through that, I mean, that's just I can't imagine. It would be just horrendous. But and obviously they would make more of a fuss about it if it were a human. But these places are actually causing the ozone layer and the green house effect. It's actually causing it by burning the bodies and all the smoke and pollution that's going up into the atmosphere. That's actually contributing as well to what we're all experiencing. Because unfortunately, the conscious people, yourself included, who understand that we're meant to be living harmoniously with these wonderful, innocent, beautiful soul beings, that just want to be free and left alone, and just want to be free to be with their, baby calf or baby pig, and not for it to be taken away as soon as it's born, to be cut up and used as veal, and stuff like that. I just find it appalling that as a species that's what as a species humans have sunk this low. And I will never stop talking about it as far as I'm concerned, because people need to wake up and understand what's going on, just to have a slice of bacon on your plate. There's actually no need to eat any of them, because as a vegan, I can honestly assure you, I've been a vegan, because I went from being the burger person when I was in my teens, then I became the pescatarian, which cut out all meat, and then I went from that to vegetarian for many years, and then I became vegan, and I'm 59, but it's taken me a good 35, at least 35 to 40 years to wake up myself, and realize the unnecessary acts of evil and horror that go on, perpetrated by humans in these so-called dairy farms, which are basically killing fields. It's just horrific, and I really wish and pray that people who are growing up today will look at other options of eating, because we don't need to. We can still breathe and live, and we can still eat what we like. It just, we're not killing to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's just,
oh God, yes,
makes complete
absolutely.
sense to me. Yeah.
Well, it does take a lot of resource up to create, water, electricity, so much energy goes into creating one little bit of meat. And you think all that, that same energy would be able to grow so many vegetables compared to something ridiculous, like all the amount of feed that animals have to to sort of consume.
And they don't really feed them, actually. They just shove a little bit of this and a bit of that in their face just to keep them standing, when they're there on these machines for 24/7, missing their babies, because that must be the most awful wrench for any mother, to lose her baby as soon as it's born, and then be stuck on a machine to give humans milk that was meant for her babies, effectively. But yeah, I think it's really horrific, and we should probably skip to other topics, because I get very, very passionate about.
I know. No, well, I was probably a bit emotionally scarred when I was young. We used to watch Lassie films, and so any cruelty to animals, starting with Lassie, has had a massive impact, really. So
I used to watch Lassie too. What a great thing to bring up. I used to love Lassie.
We used to cry so much when Lassie started limping. It was terrible, wasn't it, really? But there you go.
Well done. Well, anyway, well done you. I'm going to keep saying that. Well done you for being conscious. I think that's great.
That's good. No,
Spread the word.
I have to say also, it's so much cheaper being a vegetarian than eating meat as well, and drinking. I don't drink either, and I think, God, you just save. Our food bill would just double instantly if you ate meat and drank booze.
Exactly. I mean, I have a totally different life for when I'm on the road, or when I'm out, as they say, in the field, working with, everybody, because you're totally all the time surrounded by people all the time. There's no privacy, which I know, because I had that when I was younger, but I try to maintain it a bit more. But in answer to your question, that's correct. We have so many blessings with plants, and plants are healing. They've been around for millions and millions of years, to help heal people, like turmeric, for example. The actual herbs and plants both can stop inflammation in the stomach, but definitely your belly is your second gut, so always listen to your stomach.
Well, absolutely.
And always take notice of what it's telling you. But you can't go wrong having.
It's quite interesting, because I'm a bit just slightly older than you, but I've noticed, because I had asthma from a very young age, like the age of 4. So I've always had this thing. But I've just noticed everyone who had just generally good health, now they've got to this age in their 60s, they haven't really focused and done anything to do with diet or exercise, and they're not dropping completely, but they're having so many health issues now that I'm beginning to get a little bit bored of it, because it's like, actually, I'm kind of, I've heard for decades people just, being very light-hearted with it doesn't matter, you can't be too uptight about this and can't be, too serious about it. But now everyone's kind of having so many health issues, and it's like,
Well, yeah.
blimey, the kind of the main conversation now is people's hospital appointments and doctor's appointments. So I'm beginning to, I know that's when you, so that's only early 60s, and other people now are starting to do this kind of weight loss drug as well, and it's like, oh my god. So
that's just a load of baloney. I
but
don't
it's-
believe in any of that stuff. It's exercise, walking, simple walking and swimming. Those are the
yes,
two best exercises you can do. I know, because my aunts and in the countryside, they used to always walk. If they didn't walk every day, they'd walk every other day because they're dogs, and dogs
yes,
need exercise every day. Obviously, they need to be out there in the nature because they know what's what animals do. They're very psychic. They're very in tune with Earth and universe, which is why some of them can pick up when people have got cancer. They've got these
yes,
dogs they take into hospitals. There's one of the charities that I helped support as well, just recently through my site Cameo, was doing my bit in that respect. Although I do support personally as well where I can and when I can as an independent artist, the charities that I wish to support, i.e. Soy Dog Foundation, which is the one we came across, and the Feline Paws, where they're actually
yes,
saving animals from that were abused or older, because for some reason people have a thing about seniors, but I really, it's like senior people, it's the same principle.
yes,
Why is the question, I always ask, why would you have something against adopting? Why do you always have to it's the cute kittens for the kids, and then when they can't pay the vet bill, they get rid of them, which is not right actually, because pets are for life. They're there for
oh
forever and
yes,
ever. They rely, they're babies, their innocence, they rely upon you to look after them. If you adopt one, do not abandon it. Is the one of the worst things you could possibly do, because they rely upon you 150%. And if they're with you and they love you and they trust you, it will be forever and unconditionally. And I think those are the qualities that we're missing in humans, don't you?
yes, God, absolutely. No, yes, so that's right. Actually, I came from the countryside, and we had a dog, so we used to walk the dog all the time, actually.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
was it's something about the countryside, and I didn't realise it at the time, but actually, it's just really good. Not only exercise, but I think it just clears the brain as well. So
Yeah,
it's a
but I'm
very
just going to, sorry, I was just going to try and find the name of the charity, because I just recently did a cameo, and I was really impressed. Feline, but you need to. Oh, sorry, bear with me 1 second. They are actually now, because this is the same company I just mentioned, and they're not, they're a rescue place, and they're based in Texas of all places actually, but they are rescuing animals, and then they're going to hospitals to help patients to recuperate through rescuing these animals, which I think is absolutely beautiful thing to
yes.
be doing.
I know
Because
they have that in a lot of they have pets as therapy where they bring dogs into,
that's
you
that's
know,
exactly what these people do at this. I'm trying to find them on. It's it's well worth looking up online though,
yes, I
because
will actually. I'm always curious about these little things.
oh yes, it's well worth looking up online, because they do a lot of good. And if you are interested in this kind of thing and finding out more, because I try to support them after I've, helped to raise some money for them, whatever I can at any given time. But every month, my Cameo does a different charity. So if you hear of any that need supporting, please do let me know, because I just
Yes.
absolutely love being able to help in my own way
Well,
where
to
I
be
can.
we actually have a direct debit every month for
Excellent.
cat protections.
Yeah,
So
I've just
it's
found them. Cat
oh
protections.
cat
Oh, excellent.
protection.
They're called Faithful Paws Pet Therapy, and
Right.
they're based in Texas, Houston, Texas. But they are 501, obviously charity, and I've helped Peaceful Valley Donkey Rescue, Best Friends Animal Society, SPCA International, Renegade Paws Rescue, Physicians Committee for responsible medicine, mercy for animals, obviously. I mean, that's just incredible what they do. Soy Dog Foundation, I've just mentioned, SOI Dog Foundation, and Last Chance for Animals. So, yeah, all of these charities, I support, and I try to do that long term throughout my life in one
Yes.
way or another. So, as a person speaking to other so-called artists or whatever, maybe it be worth passing that on, because
Yes.
I'm always curious to know when I meet so-called celebrity types, and they've apparently made millions, and they think the least important thing is to support animals and other charities that are much needed. Because there's always a need there to help through what you do. That's the way I look at it anyway.
Yes,
That's just
I mean,
my
on
thinking.
that point, I was a bit amazed that, a few years ago, all these billionaires were, like obviously getting excited about their rockets and going up into space for 10 seconds,
That's
and I thought, God, if I had billions, I wouldn't want to go into space for 10 seconds because I would be A, scared of death, and B, I'd feel a bit underwhelmed. I'd rather just, I suppose my fantasy is often to just buy some land and just
yeah.
kind of leave it just to grow as it wants to grow, and
Oh,
potentially put some trees in.
organic farming. Are you
But
interested in the organic farming?
I'm interested in organic farm, but I would actually often think it would be just nice to buy a lot of a big acre of big acres of land and just kind of leave it for nature just to take over as it wishes. Plants to grow which happen to want to grow there, and
Yeah.
animals that come and live there who want to live there, and just leave it for nature and not even particularly interfere with it. I'd almost want to put a big you know ditch around it or fence,
I
just
think that's a great idea.
so that animals can just go, oh, actually, because the problem is with humans is that we often get interfere and we want to plant things or we want to interfere, and then
Yes.
sometimes that's
Yeah.
not always the right thing. Whereas if you just
No.
left land to grow
Yes.
naturally, you know that in 100 years' time it will look amazing without
It
any
would.
intervention,
I
and
agree. Yeah.
so I think I've always feel like, so if I had been a billionaire, I just think, to make life a little for the legacy and for the next generation. I don't understand why they don't want to just create something beautiful rather than a stupid
I really
spaceship.
wish I was Elton John's kid sister sometimes. No, I'm only kidding. Although
Yes,
I love Elton John, it's a shame we've never actually met personally. But I know he's great friends with Rod Stewart, isn't he? They're two
yes.
great friends. And look at his career flourishing in his latter years. I think that's excellent.
That's
Rod
amazing.
Stewart.
And that, dear listener, is the end of the interview. Almost. I had to sort of edit bits together and etc., etc., because it was quite long and sort of slightly more unstructured than normal. But anyway, thank you ever so much to Annabella for giving me the time for that. This has been the C86 Show. David Eastaugh. If you want to contact me, you can on any of the social media platform sites. Just do C86 Show. All these have been archived on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean. Have a great week. Stay safe.